Consider a story from the time of the awakened one, a story of immense sorrow, but deeply moving, friends. There was a woman named Patakara, who endured a level of loss that most people cannot even imagine. In a very short span of time, she lost her husband, her two small children, her parents, and her brothers, in a tragic series of events. The overwhelming weight of this sudden, immense sorrow shattered her completely. She lost her grasp on reality, wandering aimlessly in deep despair, unable to comprehend the cruel twist of fate. People drove her away, threw things at her, and called her mad, adding physical pain to an unbearable mental agony. One day, her wandering brought her to the Jetavana monastery, where the awakened one was teaching. While others tried to stop her from approaching, the awakened one asked them to let her come near. When she was close, the awakened one did not offer complex philosophies, nor did he scold her for her state, everyone. The awakened one spoke to her with a voice full of boundless compassion, saying simply, "Sister, recover your presence of mind." Just those few words, spoken with absolute gentleness and understanding, pierced through the dense fog of her trauma. A bystander offered a piece of cloth, and in that moment of returning to the present, a profound healing began. The awakened one did not tell Patakara to forget her family, friends. The past could not be changed, and the loss was real, deep, and agonizing. Instead, the guidance was to return to the present moment, to ground the mind in the here and now. When the mind is entirely consumed by the shadows of yesterday, it relives the trauma over and over again, keeping the wound fresh and bleeding. By finding a safe anchor in the present breath, in the feeling of the ground beneath the feet, the cycle of continuous suffering is gently interrupted. Forgiving the past does not mean agreeing with the harm that was done, friends. It simply means choosing to untie the heavy anchor, allowing the boat to float freely on the river of the present. Imagine carrying a stone in the hand, squeezing it tightly, day after day. The hand will ache, the muscles will cramp, and the entire arm will grow numb. Letting go of the stone does not change the fact that the stone is hard and cold, but it brings immediate relief to the hand, friends. The burden of past pain, everyone, is exactly like that heavy stone, pressing down on the soul. You see, the pain was inflicted upon you, perhaps by someone else, perhaps by an unfortunate circumstance, but the act of holding on to it, of reliving it every single day, is a choice, though often an unconscious one. Healing begins, friends, when you gently notice the hand is tightly clenched, and you decide, with immense courage, to slowly open the fingers, one by one. It is a delicate process, everyone, requiring patience, and a lot of kindness toward yourself. You cannot force a flower to bloom, and you cannot force a wounded heart to heal overnight. There is a beautiful story, friends, from the ancient texts, about a woman named Ubarai, who spent her days weeping in a cemetery. She had lost her beloved daughter, a sweet child named Jiva, and her grief was like an endless, dark ocean. Day after day, Ubarai would wander among the graves, crying out the name of her child, unable to find comfort, trapped completely in the sorrow of her loss. The awakened one, walking quietly through the forest, saw her immense suffering, and approached her with gentle steps. The awakened one did not tell her to stop crying, friends, because tears are the natural language of a broken heart. Instead, the awakened one asked her, softly, which Jiva she was weeping for. Ubarai was confused, everyone, because she only knew her own daughter. The awakened one then gently revealed, that in that very same burial ground, thousands of daughters named Jiva had been laid to rest over the ages. By focusing entirely on her own specific loss, she had forgotten the vast, universal nature of human sorrow, friends. This profound realization, delivered with such deep compassion, shifted something inside Ubarai. She suddenly understood, everyone, that she was not alone in her pain, that her suffering was a thread woven into the massive tapestry of all existence. Her tearful eyes, once blinded by individual agony, opened to the shared reality of impermanence, friends. The heavy, suffocating knot in her chest loosened, as she realized that holding on to the past was like trying to catch the wind, or trying to stop the sun from setting. When you look at your own wounds, friends, you might feel isolated, thinking no one else could possibly understand this specific ache. But sorrow is a universal guest, everyone, visiting every house, sooner or later. Recognizing this shared human condition does not minimize your pain, but it connects you to a broader, more compassionate understanding of life. It reminds you, friends, that beneath the scars, there is a resilient spirit, capable of immense love and profound renewal. Healing is not about erasing the past, everyone, because those experiences, even the bitter ones, have shaped the depth of your soul. A tree that has weathered a fierce storm, friends, has stronger roots, and a more magnificent canopy, than a tree that has only known calm days. The scars on the bark are not signs of weakness, but beautiful badges of survival and enduring strength. You, too, have survived the storms of your past, friends, and the very fact that you are here, breathing, listening, and reflecting, is a testament to your incredible inner power. Sometimes, the mind plays tricks, everyone, whispering that you are broken beyond repair, or that the pain will never truly fade. When those dark thoughts arise, friends, simply observe them, without judgment, like watching dark clouds drift across a wide, blue sky. You are the sky, everyone, and the thoughts, the memories, the feelings of hurt, are merely the weather passing through. The weather can be fierce, it can be terrifying, but it can never, ever, destroy the sky itself. To begin this journey of mending, friends, try to bring a gentle awareness to the body, noticing where the tension is held. Perhaps the jaw is tight, perhaps the shoulders are raised, or perhaps the breathing is shallow, everyone. Just by bringing a warm, welcoming attention to these physical sensations, you invite a subtle relaxation, a softening of the internal armor. You do not have to fight the pain, friends, because fighting only creates more friction, and more exhaustion. Instead of battling the shadows, everyone, you can simply invite the light of awareness, letting it illuminate the dark corners of the mind. Imagine a dark room, friends, where you stumble and hurt yourself on unseen objects. You do not sweep the darkness out with a broom, you simply light a candle, and the darkness naturally disappears. Awareness is that candle, everyone, bringing clarity, warmth, and a quiet safety to the places that have been hurting for so long. Letting the candle burn, friends, allows you to look at the objects in the room, recognizing them for what they truly are. Some of those objects, everyone, are memories of words spoken in anger, words that cut like sharp blades, and left deep, invisible wounds. You might have carried those words for years, friends, repeating them in your own mind, long after the person who said them has gone. It is a profound realization, everyone, to understand that the voice criticizing you from within, is often just an echo of the past, not the truth of who you are today. You possess the power, friends, to change that internal dialogue, replacing harsh judgments with gentle encouragement. Think of a small child, everyone, who has fallen and scraped a knee, crying out in pain and fear. You would not scold the child for falling, friends, you would offer a warm embrace, soothing words, and a gentle touch. Your own inner self, carrying the bruises of the past, requires exactly the same level of tenderness, everyone. By speaking to yourself with compassion, friends, you begin to weave a protective, healing layer over the old wounds. Forgiveness, in this context, is a gift you give to yourself, everyone, untying the heavy knots that bind you to a painful history. It is perfectly natural, friends, to feel resistance to this idea, because anger often feels like a shield, protecting you from being hurt again. But anger, everyone, is a heavy shield to carry, demanding immense energy, and keeping the heart closed off from the beauty of the present. Laying down the shield, friends, does not mean you become vulnerable to harm, it means you trust your own strength, to navigate the world without the burden of constant defense. When you allow yourself to feel the sadness, everyone, without rushing to hide it, or fix it, a remarkable transformation begins to unfold. The tears that flow, friends, are like a purifying rain, washing away the accumulated dust of resentment and unspoken sorrow. After the rain, everyone, the air feels fresher, the colors of the world appear brighter, and the spirit feels remarkably lighter. It is safe to let the rain fall, friends, knowing that the sun will eventually break through the clouds, warming the earth once again. The path of healing, everyone, is rarely a straight, uninterrupted line, leading directly from pain to perfect peace. There will be days, friends, when the past feels distant, and the heart feels light, soaring like a bird in the open sky. And there will be days, everyone, when an unexpected memory triggers a wave of old sadness, making you feel as though no progress has been made. In those difficult moments, friends, it is crucial to remember that stumbling is a natural part of any long journey, and it does not erase the distance you have already traveled. Be gentle with the setbacks, everyone, treating them as opportunities to practice even deeper self-compassion and understanding. You are learning a new way of being, friends, shifting from a state of survival to a state of gentle, flourishing presence. This transition takes time, everyone, just as a seed takes time to break through the soil and reach toward the sunlight. Every small step you take, friends, every moment you choose awareness over reaction, is a beautiful victory, worthy of quiet celebration. The mind, when deeply hurt, often tries to build thick, high walls, everyone, attempting to block out any future sorrow. But those same walls, friends, also block out the light, the joy, and the genuine connections that make human life so profoundly beautiful. Gently dismantling those defenses, brick by careful brick, allows the fresh breeze of the present moment to enter the heart. It is entirely possible, everyone, to honor the pain of the past, while keeping the door of the heart wide open, ready to receive the countless blessings that the present day generously offers, friends. You see, the warmth of the sun, the gentle rustle of leaves, the quiet moments of peace, are always available, waiting for you to embrace them. When the heart is open, friends, the healing energy of the present can finally wash over the wounds, bringing a profound sense of relief. It is a slow, gentle process, everyone, like a river slowly smoothing out a rough stone, over many years of continuous, patient flowing. There is an ancient story, everyone, from the time of the awakened one, that speaks deeply about the shadows of trauma, and the miraculous power of compassion. It is the story of a young boy named Sapaka, friends. Sepaka was an innocent child, yet he faced the ultimate cruelty, from the very person who was supposed to protect him. His stepfather, consumed by dark resentment, took the young boy to a terrifying charnel ground, in the dead of night. In an act of unthinkable harshness, the man tied the child, with thick ropes, to a decaying body, leaving him utterly alone in the frightening darkness. Imagine, everyone, the sheer terror, the absolute despair, that must have consumed that small, fragile heart. He was bound to death, bound to fear, abandoned in the cold, with no apparent hope of escape. The darkness around him, friends, was absolute, mirroring the profound betrayal he had just experienced. He wept, he trembled, and his mind was completely overwhelmed by a traumatic fear, that most people could never even fathom. However, the awakened one, possessing a mind vast and deeply sensitive to the suffering of all living beings, perceived the silent, agonizing screams of the child. The awakened one, friends, did not immediately walk into the dark forest. Instead, a powerful emanation of boundless loving kindness, a radiant, warm light of pure compassion, was sent across the distance, reaching the trembling boy. In the midst of his ultimate darkness, everyone, Sepaka suddenly saw this gentle, golden light. He felt a presence, friends, a presence that offered absolute, unshakable safety, and unconditional love. The awakened one softly spoke to his mind, telling him not to fear, and guiding him to find refuge in the present moment, in the warmth of that spiritual light. The profound chains of terror, the psychological bonds of his deep trauma, were broken in that instant, everyone. They were not broken by physical force, friends, but by the overwhelming, healing power of pure, spiritual refuge, and perfect compassion. The boy was eventually freed physically, but his true liberation, everyone, happened the moment his mind was touched by that boundless love. This story, friends, holds a profound, timeless mirror to the inner struggles that so many people face today. Sometimes, you might feel exactly like that little boy, tied to the dead, heavy weight of the past. The painful memories, the betrayals, the harsh, unforgiving words spoken years ago, act exactly like that lifeless body, dragging your spirit down into the dark. You feel stuck, everyone, bound tightly by the invisible ropes of resentment, fear, and unresolved grief. It feels completely impossible to break free, friends, because the knots were tied so tightly, by circumstances that were completely out of your control. But just like the radiant light that reached Sepaka, friends, there is a brilliant light of awareness, residing deep within your own heart. This inner light, everyone, is the pure, untainted nature of your own mind. It has never been damaged by the past, friends, it has never been broken by betrayal, and it has never, ever lost its profound capacity for immense, healing love. When you turn your attention inward, everyone, when you quietly, gently observe your own breathing, you are calling upon that very same, ancient light. You are inviting true compassion, friends, to shine its warmth into the darkest, coldest corners of your memory. Healing, you see, is never about fighting the darkness, everyone. It is simply about turning on the light. When you bring a gentle, non-judgmental awareness to your pain, friends, the tight ropes of trauma begin to loosen, completely on their own. You start to realize, everyone, that you are not the painful memory itself. You are the vast, luminous space of awareness, that simply holds the memory. The memory is a visitor, friends, a difficult, loud visitor, but it is not the owner of your house. There is a natural tendency, everyone, to want to run away from the feelings of hurt. People distract themselves with endless work, with noise, with constant motion, just to avoid sitting quietly with the uncomfortable echoes of yesterday. But running away, friends, only gives the shadow more power, making it grow larger, and more intimidating. True courage, everyone, is found in the simple, quiet act of sitting still, taking a deep, slow breath, and finally looking the shadow right in the eye, with a heart full of gentle kindness. When you sit with your pain, friends, treating it not as an enemy, but as a wounded, frightened child, a remarkable shift occurs. The tight, defensive posture of the mind relaxes, everyone. The frantic need to escape dissolves into a peaceful, grounded acceptance. You can whisper quietly to your own heart, friends, acknowledging the pain, saying, "Yes, this hurts deeply, but it is okay, you are safe right now." This simple, profound act of self-validation, everyone, is the most powerful medicine in the world. It is important to remember, friends, that the path to mending a broken spirit is paved with thousands of small, mindful moments. It is the moment you choose to take a deep breath, everyone, instead of reacting in anger. It is the moment you choose to forgive yourself, friends, for making a mistake, instead of spiraling into harsh, internal criticism. It is the moment you look up at the vast, clear sky, everyone, and remember that life is so much larger, so much more expansive, than the narrow confines of your past suffering. The mind is incredibly skilled, friends, at replaying the tapes of old injuries, projecting them onto the screen of the present moment. You might encounter a new situation, everyone, a new relationship, or a new challenge, and suddenly, the alarms of the past begin to ring loudly. The body reacts as if the old danger is happening all over again, friends, causing the heart to race, and the breath to become shallow. This is a natural, biological response, everyone, designed to protect you, but it is deeply misplaced in the safety of the present. To calm this ancient alarm system, friends, you must gently, constantly remind the body that the war is over. Grounding yourself in the physical senses, everyone, is a beautiful, effective way to anchor the mind in the here and now. Notice the cool feeling of the air, friends, against your skin. Listen carefully, everyone, to the subtle, quiet sounds of the environment around you. Feel the solid, unwavering support of the earth, friends, firmly beneath your feet. The earth does not judge your past, everyone, it simply holds you, unconditionally, supporting every single step you take. As you cultivate this steady, gentle presence, friends, the grip of the past naturally weakens. The memories may still visit, everyone, but they lose their sharp, painful edges. They become like old, faded photographs, friends, holding a story, but no longer holding the power to dictate your present emotions. You begin to look at your own history, everyone, not with bitter resentment, but with a profound, quiet understanding. You see the immense suffering, friends, but you also see the incredible, undeniable resilience that carried you through the darkest nights. This newfound understanding, everyone, naturally blossoms into a deep, radiant sense of gratitude. You become grateful, friends, not for the trauma itself, but for the profound strength, the deep empathy, and the vast wisdom that you gained by walking through the fire. You realize, everyone, that your scars are beautiful, intricate maps, detailing the journey of a soul that refused to be defeated. When you look at the world through this healed, compassionate lens, friends, everything begins to change. The interactions with others, everyone, become softer, more patient, and deeply empathetic. You recognize, friends, that everyone you meet is carrying their own invisible backpack of sorrow, their own hidden wounds. This shared understanding, everyone, bridges the gap of isolation, creating a profound, unspoken connection between all human hearts. You no longer react to the harshness of others, friends, with your own harshness, because you understand that their anger is merely a mask for their own, unhealed pain. This level of profound, spiritual maturity, everyone, is the ultimate fruit of the healing journey. It is the transformation of deep poison, friends, into the sweetest, most nourishing medicine. The energy that was once consumed by fighting the past, everyone, is now liberated, completely free to create, to love, and to deeply experience the vibrant beauty of the present. The heart, once heavily guarded and closed, friends, slowly begins to open, petal by careful petal, like a resilient lotus flower, rising purely above the muddy waters. The process of opening, everyone, requires continuous, gentle nourishment. Just as a garden needs water, sunlight, and careful weeding, friends, your mind needs the daily, dedicated practice of mindfulness and profound self-care. Take time, everyone, to sit in quiet reflection, to breathe deeply, and to offer yourself the same, unconditional kindness that you would so easily offer to a dear, suffering friend. Do not rush the blooming, friends. Allow the delicate process of inner renewal to unfold at its own, natural pace. There is a deep, inherent wisdom, everyone, within your own body and mind, that knows exactly how to heal, if you simply provide the right, supportive environment. Trust in that silent wisdom, friends, and allow it to gently guide you, step by mindful step, back to a state of radiant, peaceful wholeness. As the heavy layers of the past are softly shed, everyone, new, vibrant sense of self begins to emerge. This new self, friends, is not defined by the trauma, not limited by the old, fearful narratives, and not bound by the heavy chains of yesterday. It is a spirit, everyone, that is light, free, and deeply rooted in the magnificent, ever-changing flow of the present moment. It is the realization, friends, that every single morning is a completely new birth, offering a brand new, unspoiled canvas upon which to paint a beautiful, meaningful day. Embrace this daily renewal, everyone, with an open, courageous heart. Let the gentle winds of the present, friends, sweep away the lingering dust of old sorrows. Allow the bright, warm light of your own, inherent awareness, to blossom in the heart, everyone, revealing a quiet strength that the storms of yesterday could never truly destroy, friends. It is a strength that is ancient, deep, and absolutely unbreakable, everyone. When you look closely at nature, friends, you can see this exact same resilience, reflected in the elegant bamboo. The bamboo, everyone, faces the most brutal winds, the heaviest rains, and the fiercest storms, yet it does not shatter. It bends, friends, it yields to the immense pressure of the storm, bowing down to the earth in a display of profound surrender, but the very moment the wind passes, it stands tall, straight, and graceful once again. Your spirit, everyone, is exactly like that flexible, magnificent bamboo. The traumas of the past, the harsh words, the sudden losses, they were like those violent winds, forcing you to bend, and causing you immense, undeniable pain. But bending, friends, is not breaking, and the core of who you are, remains completely intact, waiting for the calm, clear air to return. To understand this deep, inherent worthiness, friends, let us recall a deeply moving story from the ancient texts, a story about a man named Sunita. Sunita, everyone, lived a life of absolute, crushing hardship, born into a position that society deemed untouchable, entirely unworthy of basic human dignity. His daily existence, friends, was spent sweeping the dusty, dirty streets of the city, wearing ragged clothes, and hiding his face from the people walking by. The psychological trauma he carried, everyone, was not just from a single event, but from a lifetime of being treated as invisible, as a stain upon the earth. He internalized this harsh judgment, friends, believing with all his heart, that he was utterly broken, fundamentally flawed, and undeserving of any kindness, love, or respect. One quiet morning, friends, as the soft light of dawn was just touching the city, the awakened one was walking mindfully along that very same street. Sunita, seeing this radiant, peaceful figure approaching, was completely overwhelmed by a deep, traumatic shame. He desperately looked for a place to hide, everyone, flattening himself against a rough wall, trying to disappear entirely into the shadows, terrified that his mere presence would offend the awakened one. This instinct to hide, friends, is something so many people do, when they carry the heavy, painful burdens of the past. You try to shrink, everyone, you try to build thick walls around your heart, hoping that if no one sees your wounds, they cannot hurt you any further. But the awakened one, friends, did not look away, and did not pass by in silence. Instead, stopping right in front of the trembling, terrified man, the awakened one spoke with a voice that was clear, resonant, and incredibly gentle, like a pure, high-pitched bell ringing in a quiet temple. The awakened one did not offer pity, everyone, because pity only reinforces the feeling of being broken. Instead, the awakened one offered profound, unshakable respect, asking Sunita, with immense warmth, if he would like to leave his harsh life behind, and join the community of peace. In that single, breathtaking moment, friends, the massive, suffocating walls of Sunita's lifelong trauma began to crumble into dust. Why did those walls fall, everyone? They fell because, for the very first time in his entire life, someone looked at him, and saw past the dirt, past the trauma, and past the deep, crippling shame. The awakened one saw the pure, pristine, luminous nature of Sunita's heart, friends, a nature that was completely untouched by the cruelty of the world. When you are healing from the wounds of yesterday, everyone, you must learn to look at yourself, with that exact same, piercing, compassionate gaze. You must look past the scars, friends, past the memories of failure, and past the heavy, booming echoes of old anxieties, to find the quiet, clear, radiant truth of your own being. Healing is a process of unlearning, friends. It is unlearning the harsh, cruel narratives that other people wrote about you, and realizing that you hold the pen to write your own beautiful story. The mind, when caught in the grip of past hurt, can be very loud, everyone, like a chaotic symphony of booming drums and harsh noises, drowning out the gentle, peaceful melody of the present moment. But you have the power, friends, to quiet that chaotic noise. By bringing your gentle attention to the simple, rhythmic flow of your breathing, you invite a soothing, clear silence into the mind, replacing the heavy, anxious thoughts, with a tranquil, uplifting peace. Think of the breathtaking beauty of autumn foliage, everyone, when the leaves turn into brilliant shades of gold, orange, and deep red. The trees, friends, do not hold on to their leaves with desperate, fearful grips, even though those leaves provided them with life, energy, and nourishment throughout the warm summer. When the season changes, everyone, the tree gracefully, silently, and peacefully lets the leaves fall to the ground. The tree understands, friends, in its deep, natural wisdom, that holding on to the old leaves would prevent the new, fresh buds from blooming in the coming spring. Letting go of the past, everyone, is exactly like this beautiful, natural process of shedding autumn leaves. You might feel afraid to let go, friends, because the pain, the anger, or the sadness, has been your familiar companion for such a very long time. It feels strange, everyone, to imagine a life where you are not constantly defined by what happened to you, in the years gone by. But holding on to that pain, friends, consumes a massive amount of your beautiful, vital energy, leaving you exhausted, depleted, and unable to fully embrace the vibrant miracles that are happening all around you, right now. Letting go, everyone, does not mean you erase the memory, it simply means you remove the sharp, painful sting, allowing the memory to rest peacefully, in the vast archives of your rich history. When you practice this gentle letting go, friends, you begin to notice a profound, beautiful shift in your daily experience. The world around you, everyone, starts to look brighter, the colors appear more vivid, and the simple, everyday moments become sources of immense, quiet joy. You might be drinking a simple cup of warm water, friends, or watching a small bird rest on a branch, and suddenly, a wave of pure, unadulterated gratitude washes over your entire being. This is the surest sign, everyone, that the heavy, suffocating clouds of past trauma are finally beginning to clear, allowing the warm, radiant sunlight of your true nature to shine through brilliantly. The journey of mending the heart, friends, also requires a deep, unwavering commitment to forgiveness, which is often the most difficult, yet the most profoundly liberating step of all. Forgiveness, everyone, is widely misunderstood in today's world. People often think, friends, that forgiving someone who deeply hurt them is equivalent to saying that the harmful action was acceptable, or that the person should be welcomed back into their life. But true forgiveness, friends, is an entirely internal, deeply personal process that has absolutely nothing to do with the person who caused the harm, and everything to do with your own spiritual freedom. To forgive, everyone, is to consciously, deliberately decide that you will no longer drink the bitter poison of resentment, hoping that the other person will suffer. The poison, friends, only destroys the vessel that holds it, which is your own precious heart. When you forgive, everyone, you are gently untying the thick, heavy ropes that have kept you bound to the source of your pain, allowing yourself to walk away, completely free, and entirely unburdened. It is a monumental act of self-love, friends, a beautiful declaration that your future peace is far more important than holding on to the bitter grievances of yesterday. And perhaps the most vital person to forgive, everyone, is yourself. The mind, when traumatized, often turns inward, friends, creating a cruel, relentless inner critic that blames you for the things that happened. You might think, everyone, that you should have known better, that you should have acted differently, or that you somehow deserved the pain you endured. These thoughts, friends, are the absolute most damaging illusions, woven by a mind that is desperately trying to find control in a situation where it felt completely powerless. You must look at that younger, wounded version of yourself, everyone, with eyes full of immense, overflowing compassion, and tell them, clearly and softly, that they did the very best they could, with the tools they had at the time. Imagine placing your hand gently over your heart, friends, feeling the steady, rhythmic beat of life, flowing endlessly within your chest. That heartbeat, everyone, is a continuous, beautiful testament to your incredible strength, your undeniable resilience, and your profound capacity to endure and overcome. Every single beat, friends, is a new opportunity, a fresh start, a beautiful chance to choose love over fear, and to choose peace over lingering resentment. You are a living, breathing miracle, everyone, and the scars you carry are simply the elegant, beautiful markings of a soul that has bravely navigated the turbulent, unpredictable waters of human existence. As you continue to walk this path of deep, gentle healing, friends, it is incredibly helpful to immerse yourself in environments that support your peace and nourish your delicate, blossoming spirit. Surround yourself, everyone, with the quiet, soothing presence of nature, whenever you possibly can. The natural world, friends, holds a profound, silent wisdom that can deeply comfort a restless, weary mind. Watch the steady, unhurried flow of a river, everyone, observing how the water gracefully maneuvers around the hard rocks, never forcing its way, but always finding a smooth, continuous path forward. Your healing journey, friends, should mirror that beautiful, flowing river, navigating the obstacles of memory, with gentle persistence, and fluid grace. Light a beautiful lantern in your room, friends, or simply light a small, glowing candle, and sit quietly in its warm, inviting presence. Let the soft, flickering light, everyone, be a beautiful reminder of the warm, luminous awareness that constantly resides within your own heart, entirely untouched by the darkness of the past. As you watch the gentle flame, friends, visualize the warm light, slowly expanding outward, gently touching every painful memory, every hidden sorrow, and every tight, anxious knot in your body. Allow the light, everyone, to melt away the cold stiffness of old traumas, leaving you feeling warm, spacious, and incredibly safe, in the embrace of the present moment. There is a magnificent story, friends, about the exquisite lotus flower, a symbol deeply revered in the teachings of the Awakened One. The lotus, everyone, does not grow in pristine, crystal-clear waters, or on perfectly manicured, beautiful lawns. It grows naturally, friends, in the dark, murky, muddy swamps, surrounded by decaying matter, and heavy, thick dirt. Yet, when the time is absolutely right, everyone, the lotus stem pushes upward, through the dark water, reaching steadily toward the bright, warm sunlight. And when the bud finally breaks the surface, friends, it opens into a breathtaking, flawlessly pure blossom, with absolutely no trace of the dark mud, clinging to its beautiful petals. Your soul, everyone, is exactly like that magnificent, radiant lotus flower. The traumas, the betrayals, the immense sorrows of your past, friends, they are the thick, dark mud that surrounded your early growth. You might have felt, everyone, that you were entirely submerged in darkness, unable to breathe, and unable to see any light above the surface. But that deep, painful mud, friends, actually provided the rich, essential nutrients that forced your roots to grow deeper and stronger, building the incredible foundation needed for your profound, spiritual awakening. Do not despise the mud of your past, everyone, because without it, the beautiful, compassionate, deeply understanding person you are becoming today would never have been able to blossom. You are rising above the murky waters, friends, breaking through the surface of fear and resentment, and opening your heart to the brilliant, warming light of the present moment. And just like the pure petals of the lotus, everyone, your core essence, remains perfectly untainted, absolutely flawless, and profoundly beautiful, regardless of where you have been, or what you have been through. It is absolutely essential, friends, to cultivate a practice of deep, silent listening, as you navigate this delicate journey of mending. The wounded parts of your mind, everyone, are often desperately trying to communicate with you, not through clear words, but through sudden physical sensations, unexpected bursts of emotion, or quiet, persistent feelings of unease. When these moments arise, friends, do not push them away, do not judge them, and do not try to immediately fix them. Simply stop what you are doing, everyone, take a deep, slow breath, and listen closely, with a heart completely full of non-judgmental, loving attention. Ask yourself softly, friends, what does this feeling need right now, in this exact moment? Does it need a few moments of quiet rest, everyone? Does it need a comforting, gentle touch, friends, or perhaps just the simple, profound reassurance, that it is completely safe to be here? By offering this deep, attentive listening to your own inner world, everyone, you become your own most powerful healer, your own most trusted, reliable refuge. You build an unshakable foundation of trust, friends, between the conscious, aware mind, and the delicate, vulnerable parts of your heart, that have been hiding in the shadows for so very long. This beautiful, internal harmony, everyone, is the true essence of profound, lasting healing. It is not about becoming a person who never feels sadness, or never remembers the past, friends. It is about becoming a person, everyone, who can hold the sadness with immense grace, and look at the past with a quiet, undisturbed peace. The memories become like old, quiet friends, everyone, sitting peacefully in the living room of your mind, no longer demanding all your attention, and no longer triggering the loud, terrifying alarms of the past. As you walk this beautiful, sacred path, friends, always remember to celebrate the small, quiet victories, that happen quietly every single day. Celebrate the moment, everyone, when you notice a negative thought, and gently choose to let it go, instead of following it down a dark, familiar spiral. Celebrate the profound courage it takes, friends, to open your heart to a new friendship, despite the painful betrayals you have experienced in the past. These small, brave choices, everyone, are the steady, beautiful steps, that carry you out of the heavy shadows, and into the bright, open expanse of true, spiritual liberation. There is a vast, beautiful universe, friends, waiting for you to engage with it, fully, completely, and without fear. The gentle rustling of the leaves in the wind, the bright, clear sound of a high-pitched chime, the warm, comforting rays of the morning sun, everyone, they are all extending a continuous, beautiful invitation, for you to join the magnificent dance of the present moment. You do not need to carry the heavy stones of yesterday, friends, in order to participate in this beautiful, joyful dance. You can simply put them down, everyone, take a deep, clear breath, and step lightly into the beautiful flow of life, exactly as it is happening, right here, and right now. The journey of releasing the past, friends, is profoundly intimately connected to the way you speak to yourself, in the quiet, lonely moments of the day. For a very long time, everyone, you might have allowed the voice of trauma, to be the loudest voice in your head, dictating your worth, and constantly whispering terrible stories of fear and limitation. But you must realize, friends, that this harsh voice is not your true voice, it is simply a heavy, outdated recording, playing on a loop, from a time when you felt incredibly small, and deeply afraid. To heal, everyone, you must begin to intentionally, carefully record a new message, a beautiful, gentle message of loving kindness, and profound self-acceptance. Speak to yourself, friends, using words that are soft, encouraging, and deeply uplifting. When you make a mistake, everyone, instead of punishing yourself with harsh, critical words, gently remind yourself, friends, that making mistakes is a perfectly natural, beautiful part of the human learning process. This continuous, dedicated practice of gentle self-talk, everyone, slowly rewires the deep pathways of the mind, creating a safe, nurturing internal environment, where true, lasting healing, can beautifully and naturally occur. Consider the vast, endless sky above you, friends, expanding infinitely in every single direction, completely untouched by the heavy, dark clouds that occasionally pass through it. The mind, everyone, in its purest, most fundamental nature, is exactly like that vast, magnificent sky. The painful memories, the sharp traumas, the heavy sorrows of the past, friends, they are merely the passing weather, temporarily obscuring the beautiful, clear blue expanse. But no matter how dark the storm gets, everyone, no matter how fiercely the winds of memory blow, they can never, ever, alter the pure, quiet, indestructible essence of the sky itself. You are that sky, friends. You are the vast, luminous awareness that simply observes the weather passing through, completely undisturbed, and profoundly at peace. Whenever you feel overwhelmed by the heavy storms of the past, everyone, simply pause, take a deep, grounding breath, and remember your true, sky-like nature. Allow the clouds of memory to drift away, friends, carried by the gentle breeze of your own, compassionate awareness, revealing the beautiful, radiant sunshine, that has always been shining, deep within your incredibly strong, and beautiful heart. It is the profound realization, everyone, that the heavy, dark chains of your past history, can never truly bind the limitless, radiant potential of your present spirit, friends. When you truly internalize this profound truth, everyone, the entire landscape of your inner world begins to beautifully, miraculously transform. You start to understand, friends, that the heavy burden you have been carrying for so long, is not a permanent part of your identity, but simply a heavy, uncomfortable coat, that you can choose to gently take off, whenever you feel ready. Sometimes, the physical body holds on to the tight, restrictive echoes of the past, everyone, long after the conscious mind has decided to move forward. You might notice, friends, that your shoulders are constantly drawn up in tension, your jaw is tightly, painfully clenched, or your breathing is shallow and restricted, especially when you are simply sitting quietly in a peaceful room. These physical sensations, everyone, are not signs of personal weakness, they are the body's deeply ingrained, biological protective mechanisms, reacting to the old, invisible ghosts of yesterday. To heal the body's memory of trauma, friends, you must learn to communicate with it, using the gentle, reassuring language of profound safety. Imagine, everyone, standing quietly beside a clear, tranquil pond, watching the gentle, soothing rippling water. If someone throws a heavy, jagged stone into the center of the pond, friends, it creates violent, chaotic splashes, and wide, disturbing ripples across the entire, smooth surface. The heavy stone, everyone, represents the painful, shocking events of your past, the sudden betrayals, and the deep, unexpected hurts. But please notice, friends, what naturally happens to the water, after the stone has sunk completely to the dark bottom. The water does not fight the ripples, everyone, it does not struggle against the temporary chaos. It simply rests, it remains perfectly, patiently still, and eventually, the chaotic waves dissolve completely on their own, returning the surface to a flawless, beautiful, mirror-like calm. Your own mind and body, everyone, possess this exact same, profound capacity for natural, effortless stillness, if you simply allow it to settle. You do not need to fight the lingering ripples of difficult memories, friends, you only need to gently stop throwing new stones of worry, harsh judgment, and constant self-criticism, into the delicate, peaceful waters of your inner world. Let the old ripples simply run their natural, fading course, everyone, and gracefully disappear into the vast, beautiful, infinite expanse of your present, loving awareness. There is a deeply inspiring, beautiful story, friends, from the ancient times, about a woman named Mbapali, who lived in the vibrant, bustling city of Visali. She was a person of extraordinary, undeniable beauty, everyone, but society had placed very harsh, rigid, and unforgiving labels upon her, judging her entirely by her complex profession, and her very difficult past. Wherever she walked, friends, people whispered cruel, cutting words, pointing fingers, and stubbornly refusing to see the profound, inherent goodness, that resided so deeply within her heart. The heavy, crushing weight of this constant, relentless social judgment, everyone, was like a dark, suffocating shadow, following her every single step, threatening to entirely extinguish her inner light. But Mbapali, friends, possessed a spirit of quiet, remarkable, and truly unyielding resilience. One beautiful morning, the awakened one visited her city, and with immense, beautiful courage, she approached, respectfully and humbly inviting the awakened one, to share a simple, quiet meal in her tranquil, green mango grove. The wealthy, powerful, and incredibly arrogant princes of the city, everyone, were absolutely furious, aggressively demanding that she sell her invitation to them, firmly believing that her past made her entirely unworthy of such a profound, sacred spiritual honor. But Mbapali refused, friends, holding firmly and bravely to her pure, sincere intention. The awakened one, possessing eyes of boundless, perfect, and completely unbiased compassion, did not see a woman stained by her history, everyone. The awakened one saw a luminous, beautiful, and deeply sincere seeker of genuine peace, and gracefully, warmly accepted her humble, heartfelt offering. In that magnificent, transformative moment, friends, Mbapali realized, with profound, breathtaking clarity, that the harsh, cruel judgments of the world, and the heavy, difficult mistakes of her own past, had absolutely no power to corrupt the pure, shining, indestructible essence of her soul. She experienced a complete, miraculous, and incredibly deep healing of her inner wounds, everyone, discovering an unshakable, beautiful sanctuary of peace, right there, in the very center of her own, radiant heart. You see, friends, society, and sometimes even your own family, often tries to hand you a heavy, restrictive, and deeply unfair script, entirely based on your past struggles, your failures, or the deep, unfair traumas you have endured. But you must always remember, everyone, that you are the sole, powerful author of your own life, and you have the absolute, unquestionable right, to write a brand new, glorious, and beautiful chapter today. When the mind is deeply cluttered with the loud, heavy, and chaotic echoes of yesterday, friends, it is incredibly helpful to seek out clear, resonant sounds, to beautifully cut through the thick, exhausting mental fog. Imagine the pure, high-pitched, and incredibly clear tone of a beautiful crystal bell, everyone, ringing sharply and purely, in the quiet, cool, early morning air. That clear, singular, beautiful tone, friends, has no past, and absolutely no future, it only exists perfectly, and vibrantly, in the exact, precise moment it is heard. By focusing your complete, undivided, and gentle attention, on such a pure, uplifting, and harmonious sound. Everyone, you are gently training your restless mind to anchor itself securely in the bright, refreshing, and deeply safe reality of the present moment. You slowly, carefully leave the heavy, booming, intimidating drums of past anxieties behind, friends, and tune your beautiful spirit to the delicate, high, and completely harmonious frequencies of profound peace, pure joy, and deep, undeniable spiritual clarity. It is a wonderfully beautiful, supportive practice, everyone, to create a physical, dedicated space in your own home, entirely devoted to this gentle, healing art of simply letting go. It does not need to be grand, expensive, or complicated, friends. A small, quiet, completely uncluttered corner, gently illuminated by the soft, warm, glowing light of a simple paper lantern, can easily become a profound, deeply comforting sanctuary for your weary, tired soul. When you sit in that quiet, intentional space, everyone, the soft, beautiful light of the lantern, serves as a continuous, gentle reminder of the warm, luminous, and deeply healing compassion that you must continuously, generously offer to your own, beautiful self. Just as the gentle lantern dispels the heavy darkness of the room, friends, the bright light of your own, loving awareness, effortlessly dispels the lingering, cold shadows of past hurts. You can sit there, everyone, and quietly watch the beautiful, delicate smoke of a single, fragrant stick of incense, rising slowly and gracefully into the air, completely unburdened, completely weightless, and entirely free. Your past sorrows, friends, can gently float away just like that thin, delicate smoke, disappearing completely into the vast, welcoming emptiness of the surrounding air, leaving absolutely no trace behind. This profound, physical act of creating a safe, beautiful environment, everyone, sends a very powerful, deeply reassuring message to your inner, frightened child, confirming that the long, terrifying storm is finally over, and it is entirely safe to come out of hiding. Healing is deeply connected, friends, to the art of profound, complete surrender. People often mistakenly believe, everyone, that surrendering means giving up, admitting absolute defeat, or showing a deeply shameful weakness. But true, spiritual surrender, friends, is the most courageous, powerful, and deeply liberating action you can possibly take. It simply means, everyone, dropping the heavy, exhausting, and completely useless weapons that you have been using to fight against the undeniable reality of your own past. You cannot change what happened, friends, no matter how many times you aggressively replay the painful scenario in your head, or how much bitter, burning anger you direct toward the people who hurt you. The past is exactly like a heavy, solid, unmovable mountain, everyone, and you have been exhausted, constantly trying to push it out of your way, with your bare, bleeding hands. Surrender, friends, is the beautiful, profound realization that you do not need to move the massive mountain, you simply need to peacefully, gracefully walk around it. When you stop fighting the unchangeable past, everyone, an immense, breathtaking reservoir of fresh, vibrant energy, is instantly returned to your weary body and mind. You can finally use that beautiful, creative energy, friends, to plant a vibrant, blooming garden in the present moment, filled with the seeds of profound kindness, deep understanding, and pure, unadulterated joy. Think of the magnificent, awe-inspiring transformation, everyone, that happens in the natural world during the transition of the seasons. A deeply frozen, barren, and completely lifeless landscape in the middle of harsh winter, friends, does not stubbornly hold on to the cold, biting ice, when the gentle, warming rays of the spring sun finally begin to shine. The earth gently, peacefully surrenders to the warmth, everyone, allowing the heavy snow to completely melt away, and making perfectly clear space for the vibrant, green, and deeply resilient shoots of new life to emerge. Your beautiful heart, friends, operates by the exact same, profound, and deeply natural laws of continuous, vibrant renewal. The freezing, harsh winter of your trauma, everyone, has officially passed, and the warm, golden, and incredibly gentle sun of the present moment is shining brightly, directly upon your brave face. Allow the cold, hard ice of old resentments, friends, to slowly, naturally melt away, watering the deep, fertile soil of your soul, and preparing you for a completely breathtaking, vibrant, and magnificent internal spring. There is an incredible, profound freedom, everyone, in finally forgiving yourself for the ways you tried to survive, when you were surrounded by pain and deep confusion. Sometimes, friends, the habits and the thick, protective walls you built during a time of immense trauma, are deeply misunderstood by others, and even fiercely criticized by your own mind, long after the actual danger has completely vanished. You might have become intensely withdrawn, everyone, or fiercely defensive, or incredibly anxious, simply as a desperate, necessary means of protecting your very fragile, vulnerable heart from completely shattering. Do not judge those past, necessary survival strategies, friends, with the completely unfair, unearned wisdom of your present safety. Instead, look back at your past self, everyone, with eyes overflowing with deep, profound, and absolutely unconditional gratitude. Thank those thick, heavy walls, friends, for keeping you safe when the terrifying winds were blowing so fiercely, but gently, kindly let them know that their difficult job is finally, completely done. You can tell your beautifully resilient mind, everyone, that you are now strong enough, wise enough, and deeply grounded enough, to handle the vast, beautiful world, without needing those heavy, exhausting layers of constant, suffocating armor. As you gently remove this heavy armor, friends, you will begin to experience the world with a startling, brilliant, and completely refreshing new clarity. You will notice the intricate, delicate beauty of a single, blooming flower, everyone, with a depth of appreciation you never thought possible, because your mind is no longer constantly distracted by the loud, booming echoes of yesterday's deep pain. You will listen to the beautiful, melodic laughter of a good friend, everyone, and truly, deeply feel the pure, vibrant joy resonating in your own chest, because your heart is no longer tightly, painfully sealed shut by old, lingering fears. This exquisite, profound sensitivity to the beauty of the present moment, friends, is the absolute greatest, most magnificent reward of the long, challenging, and deeply courageous healing journey. It is the profound, beautiful return of your true, deeply vibrant nature, everyone, emerging triumphantly from the dark shadows, and stepping boldly, radiantly into the clear, warm, and absolutely spectacular light of day. When you deeply embrace this beautiful, vibrant sensitivity, friends, you also become a profound, shining beacon of gentle, comforting hope, for everyone else around you, who is still silently struggling in the dark. You do not need to preach, everyone, or offer complicated, unsolicited advice to others, because your very presence, your calm, peaceful, and deeply grounded energy, speaks volumes louder than any words ever could. People will naturally, inevitably feel a profound sense of absolute safety, and deep, comforting warmth around you, friends, because they will instinctively sense that you have walked through the terrifying fire, and emerged completely whole, beautifully refined, and overflowing with deep, authentic compassion. Your healed heart, everyone, becomes a wide, sheltering, and deeply peaceful tree, offering cool, quiet, and beautiful shade to all the weary, exhausted travelers on the road of life. This is the ultimate, most beautiful, and profoundly meaningful purpose of healing from past wounds, friends. It is not just about finding personal relief from your own pain, everyone, but about elegantly, beautifully transforming that deep, dark suffering, into a vast, boundless reservoir of gentle, healing love for the entire world. Every single tear you have bravely shed, friends, every single dark, terrifying night you have survived, and every single heavy, painful memory you have gently released, has carefully, beautifully prepared you, for this exact, magnificent, and deeply profound moment of complete, spiritual blossoming. The journey is truly remarkable, everyone, and the destination is absolutely, breathtakingly beautiful, simply waiting for you to fully, completely, and joyfully arrive. There will be moments, friends, when the path feels completely effortless, and you feel as light as a single, delicate feather, carried gracefully by a warm, gentle breeze. And there will certainly be other times, everyone, when an unexpected, familiar scent, or a sudden, sharp word, deeply triggers an old, hidden ache, making the path feel steep, rocky, and incredibly exhausting once again. When you encounter these sudden, difficult bumps in the road, friends, please, do not panic, and do not ever believe that your profound healing has been entirely lost. The deep, heavy roots of past pain, everyone, are often tangled and complex, and gently uprooting them completely, is a continuous, beautiful, and sometimes deeply challenging process of profound, loving discovery. Treat these completely natural, deeply human moments of sudden regression, friends, with the utmost, gentle, and absolute tenderness, exactly as you would comfort a small, deeply frightened bird, that has accidentally fallen from its safe, warm nest. Hold your own trembling heart gently, everyone, whisper words of profound, unwavering comfort, and simply allow the difficult, turbulent wave of raw emotion, to completely, naturally pass through your body, without any resistance, and without any harsh, critical judgment. The profound, beautiful capacity to sit quietly, and peacefully with your own discomfort, friends, without frantically trying to escape it, or urgently trying to fix it, is the absolute hallmark of true, deep, and unshakable spiritual maturity. It is the realization, everyone, that you are the vast, incredibly strong container, entirely capable of beautifully, safely holding all the complex, vibrant, and sometimes painful experiences of human life, without ever truly breaking. As you continue to build this profound, beautiful inner strength, friends, you will naturally find yourself drawn to new, completely different patterns of gentle, mindful living. You might naturally wake up a little earlier, everyone, just to deeply, fully appreciate the profound, sacred silence of the beautiful dawn, before the noisy, chaotic world begins to demand your precious attention. You might find yourself deeply, profoundly drawn to the beautiful, ancient practice of mindful walking, friends, where every single, deliberate step you take, is a beautiful, grounded declaration of your complete, undeniable presence on this magnificent, supportive earth. In these quiet, deeply intentional moments, everyone, you are actively, beautifully rewriting the delicate, intricate neural pathways of your own mind, completely replacing the heavy, anxious grooves of past trauma, with bright, shining, and deeply peaceful trails of profound, mindful awareness. This beautiful, conscious rewiring, friends, takes immense patience, and profound, unwavering dedication, but the truly magnificent, breathtaking results, are absolutely, unquestionably worth every single ounce of your gentle, loving effort. You are meticulously, beautifully building a completely new, radiant, and incredibly peaceful inner home, everyone, a place where your true, beautiful spirit can finally, truly rest, completely safe from the harsh, biting winds of the distant past. And within this beautiful, newly constructed inner sanctuary, friends, you will continuously, joyfully discover deep, profound reservoirs of pure, unadulterated creativity, and immense, beautiful joy, that you never even knew you possessed. The heavy, dark energy that was previously completely consumed by constantly managing your deep, hidden pain, everyone, is now completely, gloriously liberated, free to beautifully express itself in art, in deep, loving relationships, in quiet, meaningful work, and in a profound, magnificent appreciation for the simple, everyday miracle of just being alive. You are no longer a deeply wounded, frightened survivor of yesterday, friends, you are a radiant, powerful, and deeply beautiful creator of today, completely free to beautifully shape your own magnificent destiny, with absolutely every single, mindful breath you take. It is a profoundly beautiful, entirely new beginning, everyone, a brilliant, glowing sunrise after a very long, dark, and incredibly terrifying night, and the glorious, warming light it brings, is entirely yours to deeply, profoundly, and joyfully embrace. The mind, when it is truly, deeply relaxed and profoundly healed, friends, becomes exactly like a perfectly clear, undisturbed, and beautiful mirror, effortlessly, perfectly reflecting the magnificent, breathtaking beauty of the present moment, without any distortion, and without any dark, lingering shadows. You look at a simple, beautiful tree, everyone, and you do not see a complicated, distorted symbol of your past, you simply see the profound, elegant, and entirely perfect miracle of nature, standing quietly and majestically in the bright, warming sunlight. You look at the vast, starry night sky, friends, and you do not feel a deep, crushing sense of terrifying, isolated loneliness, you simply feel a profound, breathtaking connection to the infinite, magnificent, and deeply mysterious universe, recognizing that you are an integral, beautiful, and absolutely essential part of this magnificent, cosmic dance. This is the ultimate, profound gift of deep, authentic healing, everyone, the complete, joyful restoration of your deep, natural ability to experience profound, unshakable wonder, and pure, innocent awe. It is the beautiful, miraculous return of the incredibly bright, clear, and absolutely fearless eyes of a child, combined with the deep, profound, and beautifully grounded wisdom of a soul that has truly, bravely lived, and profoundly learned. And as you walk forward with these bright, clear, and profoundly wise eyes, friends, you will naturally, effortlessly navigate the inevitable challenges of daily life, with a completely new, deeply grounded sense of beautiful, unshakable grace. When new, unexpected conflicts naturally arise, everyone, you will no longer immediately, reactively retreat into the dark, familiar patterns of deep, isolating fear, or harsh, burning anger, because you deeply, profoundly know, that those old, heavy weapons, are completely useless in the bright, peaceful light of your new, awakened reality. You will simply pause, friends, you will take a deep, grounding, and incredibly peaceful breath, and you will beautifully respond to the present moment, from a place of deep, centered calmness, and profound, unwavering clarity. This deep, centered calmness, everyone, is the greatest, most profound, and deeply protective shield you could ever possibly possess, rendering the harsh, unkind words and the negative, toxic energies of the external world, completely, utterly powerless against your magnificent, radiant spirit. You are completely, safely anchored in the deep, unshakable truth of your own, profound worthiness, friends, and absolutely nothing that happens in the outside world can ever truly disturb the beautiful, profound, and deeply sacred peace that you have so carefully, lovingly cultivated within. It is a profound, absolutely beautiful state of being, everyone, a state where you are fully, completely, and vibrantly alive, intimately connected to the deep, beating heart of the entire, beautiful world, yet completely, wonderfully untouched by its chaotic, passing sorrows. You are exactly like the magnificent, deep, and incredibly vast ocean, friends, where the strong, chaotic, and sometimes violent winds may whip the surface into large, crashing waves, but deep, profoundly deep below the surface, in the vast, hidden depths of the water, there is always a perfect, unbroken, and absolutely absolute silence. Your true, beautiful essence, everyone, completely resides in those profound, quiet, and completely undisturbed depths, entirely safe, entirely whole, and profoundly, beautifully at peace. Allow yourself, friends, to continuously, gently sink into those deep, quiet, and incredibly comforting waters of your own, true nature, whenever the busy, chaotic surface of daily life becomes too loud, or too completely overwhelming. Find your deep, beautiful, and unshakable anchor there, everyone, in the profound, sacred, and entirely silent space between your gentle breaths, and simply rest in the profound, undeniable knowledge that you are completely, universally, and deeply loved, exactly as you are, without any need for past justification, and without any need for future perfection. The journey is completely yours, friends, entirely unique, profoundly beautiful, and absolutely, undeniably sacred, and every single, mindful step you take upon it, is a breathtaking, magnificent celebration of your own, deeply resilient, and incredibly radiant soul. Keep walking, everyone, with your beautiful, brave heart completely wide open, and your eyes gently, completely focused on the bright, beautiful, and entirely limitless horizon, knowing with absolute, profound certainty, that the very best, the most truly beautiful part of your magnificent life, is only just beginning to perfectly, miraculously unfold. Embrace the beautiful, quiet morning, friends, and let the gentle, warming light of the beautiful, rising sun, be a constant, profound reminder of the brilliant, incredibly powerful light, that continuously, endlessly, and completely naturally shines from within the very center of your own, deeply healed, and profoundly beautiful being. The universe, everyone, completely rejoices in your deep, authentic peace, and quietly, continuously supports you in every single, beautiful endeavor, offering endless, magnificent opportunities for profound growth, deep, meaningful connection, and pure, unadulterated, and entirely boundless joy. You are completely, profoundly, and wonderfully free, friends, free to simply be the magnificent, radiant, and entirely beautiful expression of life, that you were always, perfectly, and divinely intended to be. And as you embrace this profound, entirely breathtaking freedom, everyone, you will naturally discover that the heavy, painful limitations of your history were merely tiny, insignificant pebbles on a vast, magnificent path, leading you directly, and perfectly, to the profound, awe-inspiring realization of your own, entirely magnificent, and deeply radiant truth. This truth, friends, is not something you have to actively search for in the distant corners of the outside world, because it has always resided quietly, and perfectly, within your very own, continuous breathing. It is a profound, deeply comforting realization, everyone, to finally understand that the ultimate source of your peace has never truly left you. Sometimes, in the desperate, exhausting rush to heal from the heavy wounds of the past, people make the honest mistake of pushing themselves entirely too hard. They treat their own beautiful, fragile minds, friends, exactly like a broken machine, demanding immediate, perfect repairs, and feeling a deep, burning frustration, when the lingering sadness simply refuses to vanish overnight. There is a deeply beautiful, ancient story, everyone, that perfectly illustrates the hidden danger of trying too forcefully to mend the spirit. It is the story of a young monk named Sona, friends, who lived during the time of the Awakened One. Before seeking the path of peace, Sona was a musician of extraordinary, breathtaking talent, and he lived a life surrounded by immense, effortless luxury. But when he chose to seek deeper, profound spiritual truths, he completely abandoned his soft, comfortable life, and threw himself into the practice of meditation, with an intense, almost punishing level of extreme dedication. He walked back and forth in deep, solitary contemplation, friends, with such fierce, unrelenting determination, that his delicate feet actually began to bleed, leaving a painful, visible trail on the dusty, hard ground. Despite this immense, agonizing effort, everyone, Sona could not find the peaceful, quiet liberation he was so desperately seeking. His mind was constantly agitated, filled with a deep, heavy frustration, and he felt like an absolute, undeniable failure. The Awakened One, observing this young man's painful, exhausting struggle, approached him with a heart completely overflowing with gentle, boundless compassion. The Awakened One did not praise his painful efforts, friends, nor did he scold him for his lack of immediate success. Instead, the Awakened One asked Sona a simple, profoundly brilliant question about his past life as a skilled musician. The Awakened One asked, "Sona, when you played your beautiful stringed instrument, what happened if you tightened the delicate strings entirely too much?" Sona quickly replied, "Everyone, that if the strings were too tight, they would completely snap under the intense pressure, and absolutely no music could be made." The Awakened One then asked, "And what happened, Sona, if you left the delicate strings completely loose, and entirely slack?" Sona answered, "Friends, that if the strings were too loose, they would produce a dull, lifeless sound, and the beautiful instrument would be entirely unplayable." With a warm, gentle smile, everyone, the Awakened One perfectly delivered the profound, timeless lesson. The Awakened One explained that the beautiful strings must be tuned perfectly in the middle, neither too tight, nor too loose, to create the most magnificent, uplifting, and harmonious music. Your own mind, Sona, and your own journey toward deep, lasting peace, must follow this exact same, beautiful principle of the gentle middle way. If you push yourself with harsh, unrelenting force, your spirit will painfully snap under the heavy pressure of anxiety. If you become entirely lazy, and completely ignore your own inner world, your spirit will remain dull, and deeply unawakened. This profound, elegant teaching, friends, applies so perfectly to the delicate, complex journey of healing from deep, traumatic wounds. When you realize you are carrying heavy pain, everyone, there is often a sudden, fierce urge to completely eradicate it, to forcefully scrub the mind clean, and to aggressively demand that you feel entirely happy, right this very second. You might read countless books, friends, force yourself into rigorous, exhausting routines, and become deeply, bitterly angry with yourself, whenever a completely natural tear falls from your eye. You are tightening the delicate strings of your own heart, everyone, to a dangerous, painful breaking point. You must learn, friends, to gently, softly loosen the tight grip of your own, demanding expectations. Healing is not a harsh, competitive race, everyone, and there is absolutely no grand, shiny prize for arriving at a state of perfect peace, faster than anyone else. Your heart is exactly like a beautiful, delicate flower, friends, that has been bruised by a severe, terrifying storm. You cannot scream at the bruised flower to bloom, everyone, and you cannot pull harshly on its fragile, tender petals, to force it to open against its own, natural rhythm. You can only provide the gentle, warming sunlight of your compassionate attention, friends, and the cool, nourishing water of your deep, unwavering patience. When you create this soft, supportive, and completely safe internal environment, everyone, the bruised flower will beautifully, naturally, and miraculously begin to heal itself, opening its vibrant petals perfectly, when the precise, right time has beautifully arrived. Allow yourself the profound, gentle grace of taking your time, friends. It is perfectly acceptable, everyone, to have a day where you simply need to rest quietly, doing absolutely nothing, just allowing your tired, weary nervous system to deeply, beautifully reset. There is another deeply moving, truly profound story from the ancient texts, friends, that beautifully speaks to the heavy, crushing burden of feeling completely unworthy, due to the harsh circumstances of the past. It is the story of a man named Suppabutta, everyone. He lived a life of absolute, unimaginable physical, and emotional suffering, afflicted by a severe, completely disfiguring disease, that caused the entire society to harshly, cruelly reject him. He was a complete outcast, friends, dressed in torn, dirty rags, wandering the lonely, dusty edges of the city, surviving entirely on the meager, sparse scraps that people carelessly threw his way. The physical pain he endured was immense, everyone, but the deep, invisible psychological trauma was vastly, exponentially worse. He was constantly looked at with sheer, undisguised disgust, friends, and the heavy, cruel weight of the world's harsh judgment, convinced him absolutely, that he was fundamentally ruined, deeply cursed, and completely devoid of any inherent, beautiful value. He internalized the harsh, toxic poison of society, everyone, believing with his entire, broken heart, that he was nothing more than the painful, highly visible scars that covered his fragile body. One day, friends, Suppabutta saw a massive, completely silent crowd of people gathered in a beautiful, green grove. Driven entirely by the simple, gnawing hunger in his empty stomach, he slowly, painfully approached the large gathering, genuinely thinking that someone might be generously distributing free, warm food. But as he quietly, hesitantly crept to the very back of the vast crowd, trying desperately to remain entirely unseen, he realized that there was absolutely no food being handed out. Instead, everyone, the awakened one, was sitting peacefully under a large, beautiful tree, offering profound, deeply healing words of spiritual truth. Suppabutta decided to sit quietly on the hard, dusty ground, entirely at the absolute fringes of the gathering, firmly believing that he was completely unworthy to even listen to such pure, sacred teachings. But the awakened one, possessing a mind that completely transcended all superficial, worldly judgments, immediately noticed this deeply suffering, highly marginalized man, hiding quietly in the distant shadows. The awakened one did not see a ruined, diseased outcast, friends. The awakened one saw a deeply sensitive, incredibly ripe, and profoundly beautiful mind, that was entirely ready to experience a massive, breathtaking spiritual liberation. As the awakened one began to speak, everyone, the words were completely, intentionally directed straight toward the fragile, trembling heart of Suppabutta. The awakened one spoke beautifully, and gently, about the deep, universal nature of suffering, and the magnificent, unshakable purity of the true, inner mind, which can never, ever be stained by physical illness, social rejection, or the heavy, painful mistakes of the distant past. As Sabbabuddha listened to this pure, deeply compassionate voice, friends, a miraculous, profound transformation occurred completely within him. He realized, with a sudden, brilliant, and entirely overwhelming clarity, everyone, that his deep, painful disease, and the cruel, harsh rejections he had suffered, were merely temporary, passing conditions of his physical, worldly existence. They did not, in any way, touch the pure, radiant, and absolutely perfect essence of his true, spiritual nature. In that magnificent, breathtaking moment, friends, the heavy, suffocating chains of his lifelong trauma, and his deep, crippling self-hatred, completely shattered into a million, tiny pieces. He experienced a profound, beautiful awakening, everyone, finding an absolute, unshakable sanctuary of peace, right there, in the very midst of his incredibly difficult, completely unchanged physical reality. This story, friends, holds an incredibly powerful, profoundly beautiful message for anyone who has ever felt deeply damaged, fundamentally broken, or permanently stained by the traumatic, unfair events of their past. Sometimes, the deep wounds you carry, everyone, are completely invisible to the outside world, but they make you feel exactly like an isolated, unworthy outcast within your very own mind. You might look at the happy, smiling people around you, friends, and believe with absolute, heartbreaking certainty, that you are entirely different, that you are uniquely flawed, and that you are permanently disqualified from experiencing true, lasting joy. But you must listen very closely to this profound truth, everyone. Your deep, painful traumas, the harsh, cruel things that were done to you, and the heavy, difficult mistakes you have bravely survived, they do not define your core, beautiful essence. They are exactly like the temporary, disfiguring illness of Sabbabuddha, friends, they are heavy, painful conditions that you have been forced to carry, but they are absolutely not who you truly are. Beneath the thick, heavy layers of anxiety, beneath the deep, protective walls of anger, and beneath the quiet, flowing river of your old sadness, everyone, there is a brilliant, completely untouched, and perfectly pure jewel of awareness. This beautiful, inner jewel, friends, has absolutely no scratches, it has no dark stains, and it has never, ever been diminished by the severe, terrifying storms you have walked through. Your healing journey, everyone, is not about frantically trying to create a brand new, perfectly happy person from scratch. It is a profound, gentle, and incredibly beautiful process of carefully, lovingly wiping away the thick, accumulated dust of the past, so that your own, perfectly intact, and incredibly radiant inner jewel, can finally, brightly shine once again. When you deeply, truly understand that your fundamental worth is entirely, absolutely indestructible, friends, the heavy, exhausting fear of facing your own painful memories, begins to beautifully, naturally dissolve. You no longer need to constantly, frantically run away from your own shadow, everyone, because you completely, undeniably know, that the dark shadow poses absolutely no real threat to the brilliant, shining light of your true, beautiful nature. You can finally sit down quietly, friends, invite the difficult, heavy memories into the warm, safe living room of your awareness, and simply observe them with a profound, deep, and incredibly gentle compassion. Imagine your mind, everyone, as a vast, beautiful, and completely welcoming guest house. Every single day, friends, a completely new, unpredictable series of guests arrive at the front door. Some of these guests, everyone, are bright, cheerful, and incredibly pleasant, like the warm feelings of sudden joy, deep gratitude, and beautiful, unexpected inspiration. You naturally welcome these happy guests, friends, with a wide, bright smile, and you are delighted to share your beautiful space with them. But occasionally, everyone, a group of very dark, heavy, and deeply intimidating guests arrive abruptly at the door. These are the sharp, sudden memories of past betrayal, the heavy, suffocating waves of old grief, and the harsh, critical voices of deep, lingering self-doubt. Your immediate, completely natural instinct, friends, is to aggressively slam the heavy door shut, to lock it tightly, and to pretend that nobody is standing outside. But these difficult, heavy guests, everyone, are incredibly persistent, and if you completely ignore them, they will simply start pounding loudly on the windows, causing a massive, terrifying disturbance in your otherwise peaceful home. The profound, beautiful practice of true, mindful healing, friends, involves cultivating the immense, breathtaking courage, to slowly, gently open the door, even for the most difficult, terrifying guests. You do not have to like them, everyone, and you certainly do not have to invite them to stay permanently in your beautiful home. But you must respectfully, gently acknowledge their undeniable presence. You can quietly, softly say to the heavy feeling of sadness, "I see you standing there, I know exactly why you have come, and I will allow you to simply rest quietly in the corner, until you are finally ready to peacefully leave." When you treat your deep, painful emotions with this level of profound, gentle, and completely non-judgmental hospitality, friends, something incredibly beautiful, and truly miraculous happens. The difficult, heavy guests completely lose their intimidating, terrifying power over you, everyone. They realize that they cannot frighten you into complete submission, and they cannot force you to forcefully fight them. They simply sit quietly for a little while, friends, they deliver their heavy, ancient message from the past, and then, completely naturally, they peacefully, quietly pack their bags, and walk entirely out of your beautiful, spacious mind. This gentle, observing presence, everyone, is the absolute, most powerful antidote to the deeply ingrained, painful habit of over-identifying with your own past trauma. You start to deeply, profoundly realize, friends, that you are not the heavy sadness, you are simply the vast, beautiful, and completely stable room, in which the passing sadness temporarily sits. You are not the sudden, sharp burst of old anger, everyone, you are the deep, quiet, and perfectly calm sky, through which the dark, stormy cloud of anger is completely, harmlessly passing. This profound, elegant shift in your internal perspective, friends, creates a massive, beautiful, and incredibly liberating space between the sudden trigger, and your subsequent, mindful reaction. In the past, everyone, when an old wound was accidentally touched, you might have instantly, blindly reacted with harsh words, deep withdrawal, or a sudden, overwhelming panic attack. But now, friends, because you have beautifully, patiently cultivated this spacious, observing awareness, you have the profound, incredible power to simply pause, take a deep, completely grounding breath, and gently choose a completely different, entirely peaceful way to respond. You break the ancient, heavy, and deeply destructive chain of continuous, unconscious suffering, everyone, simply by choosing to remain perfectly, beautifully present. And in that vast, open space of mindful presence, friends, you slowly, carefully begin to gently reclaim your deeply inherent, absolutely undeniable right to experience pure, unadulterated joy. Trauma, everyone, is incredibly greedy, it slowly, silently steals your natural capacity to fully enjoy the simple, beautiful, and entirely magnificent miracles of daily life, keeping you constantly, nervously vigilant, entirely focused on detecting the next, potential threat. To gently, beautifully reverse this painful, exhausting process, friends, you must intentionally, deliberately, and completely consciously, invite the bright, warming feeling of joy back into your physical body, and your weary mind. It does not require grand, expensive vacations, everyone, or massive, life-altering achievements. The most profound, deeply healing joy, friends, is completely, wonderfully hidden in the tiny, seemingly insignificant, ordinary moments of your beautiful, everyday existence. Notice the exquisite, delicate, and truly beautiful pattern of the warm sunlight, everyone, shining gently through the green leaves of a nearby tree. Feel the incredible, soothing comfort of a soft, warm blanket wrapped completely around your shoulders, on a cold, quiet evening. Take a single, mindful sip of warm, clear water, friends, and genuinely, deeply appreciate the profound, absolute miracle of having fresh, clean water, to completely nourish your magnificent, incredibly resilient physical body. When you deliberately, intentionally pause to fully, deeply absorb these small, beautiful moments of simple goodness, everyone, you are physically, neurologically sending a powerful, deeply reassuring signal to your brain, confirming that the world is no longer a hostile, terrifying place. You are beautifully, gently coaxing your nervous system out of its deep, dark hiding place, friends, and gently showing it, that it is completely, absolutely safe to relax, to beautifully open up, and to genuinely, deeply smile once again. There is a profound, completely beautiful connection, friends, between the simple act of genuine, heartfelt gratitude, and the deep, complex process of healing a heavily burdened spirit. Gratitude, everyone, is not a forced, artificial exercise of pretending that everything in your past was entirely perfect, because it clearly was not. Gratitude, friends, is the profound, courageous choice to gently shift your complete attention, away from the heavy things that were unfairly taken from you, and to focus entirely, beautifully, on the magnificent, precious things that still perfectly, wonderfully remain. You can be deeply, profoundly grateful for the immense, incredible strength of your own, beating heart, everyone, which has steadfastly, bravely kept you completely alive, through the absolute darkest, most terrifying nights of your entire existence. You can be beautifully grateful, friends, for the deep, profound capacity to feel empathy for others, a beautiful, shining quality that was likely forged directly in the intense, burning fires of your own, personal suffering. When you continuously, gently water the fertile seeds of gratitude within your own mind, everyone, the heavy, suffocating weeds of bitter resentment, completely naturally, and beautifully begin to quickly wither and peacefully die. You start to see your entire, complex life story, friends, not as an endless, tragic series of deeply unfair events, but as a vast, rich, and truly magnificent tapestry, completely woven with threads of deep sorrow, brilliant joy, profound struggle, and absolutely breathtaking, undeniable resilience. This incredibly beautiful, holistic view of your own, unique journey, everyone, completely naturally fosters a deep, profound sense of absolute, unwavering self-forgiveness. You look back at the younger, deeply frightened version of yourself, friends, the one who made complex mistakes, the one who trusted the completely wrong people, or the one who reacted with intense, fiery anger because they were in absolute, unbearable pain. You look at that past self, everyone, not with a harsh, punishing, and entirely critical eye, but with the warm, gentle, and completely understanding gaze of a deeply compassionate, truly loving older friend. You can mentally, gently reach out across the vast ocean of time, friends, to embrace that scared, trembling younger you, whispering softly that the long, terrifying ordeal is finally over, that they did absolutely nothing fundamentally wrong, and that they are entirely, completely safe now. This profound, beautiful act of internal, deep reconciliation, everyone, effectively completely sews up the gaping, painful wounds of the past, stopping the continuous, exhausting drain of your precious, vibrant energy. As your energy slowly, beautifully begins to completely return, friends, you will feel a new, profound, and entirely completely undeniable calling, rising gently from the very depths of your healed, open heart. You will discover, everyone, that your own, personal healing journey, is completely, wonderfully interconnected with the beautiful, continuous healing of the entire, vast world around you. You will begin to look closely into the tired, weary eyes of the strangers you quietly pass on the busy street, friends, and you will instantly, profoundly recognize the familiar, heavy shadows of their own, unspoken grief, their own hidden fears, and their own, entirely unhealed wounds. Because you have bravely, completely navigated the terrifying, dark depths of your own deep sorrow, everyone, you now possess the rare, profound, and absolutely exquisite ability to offer genuine, completely authentic comfort to those who are still completely lost in the terrifying, confusing dark. A simple, gentle smile offered to a weary, tired store clerk, everyone, a deeply patient, understanding response to someone who is acting out in sudden, sharp anger, or a quiet, truly listening ear offered to a deeply struggling friend. These seemingly small, gentle actions, friends, are actually profound, incredibly powerful ripples of beautiful, healing energy, completely born from the deep, magnificent wisdom of your own, hard-won spiritual transformation. You become exactly like a cool, deeply refreshing, and completely clear oasis in the middle of a harsh, burning desert, everyone, offering a beautiful, quiet space of absolute safety, and deep, profound relief, simply by the completely natural virtue of your own, grounded, and intensely peaceful presence. You do not need to possess a fancy, impressive title, friends, and you do not need to give long, complicated, unsolicited lectures to anyone. The most profound, completely transformative healing in this beautiful world, everyone, always perfectly happens in the quiet, completely silent, and deeply sacred space between two genuine, open human hearts. When you simply show up exactly as you truly are, friends, completely imperfect, deeply scarred, yet absolutely whole, entirely radiant, and profoundly at peace, you are giving everyone else completely, beautifully silent permission to do exactly the same thing. You are a profound, completely living testament, everyone, to the incredible, absolutely undeniable truth, that no matter how heavily the past has painfully broken a human spirit, it can always, miraculously, and beautifully be put back together, entirely stronger, completely wiser, and vastly more beautiful than it ever was before. The journey of deep, spiritual mending, friends, is not a simple, straight, and entirely predictable line, stretching directly from deep pain, to absolute, permanent perfection. It is a beautiful, magnificent, and entirely complex spiral, everyone, constantly circling back to very similar themes, but always from a completely new, vastly higher, and deeply profoundly wiser perspective. You might encounter an old, familiar feeling of deep, sudden sadness tomorrow, friends, but you will not drown in it, exactly the way you entirely did 5 years ago. You will simply recognize it, everyone, you will gently, warmly welcome it, and you will completely, peacefully allow it to wash over you, knowing with absolute, unshakable certainty, that the deep, beautiful core of who you truly are, is entirely, completely safe, and profoundly, beautifully secure. This beautiful, continuous, and completely gentle spiral of deep growth, friends, is the magnificent, true essence of a fully, completely awakened human life. Embrace every single, beautiful curve of this profound journey, everyone, completely trusting the deep, ancient, and absolutely perfect wisdom of your own, completely beautiful, and entirely resilient heart. The vast, starry night of your deep, painful past, friends, has completely, beautifully given way to the incredibly bright, warm, and utterly spectacular morning of your completely new, entirely radiant, and deeply profound present moment. This present moment, friends, is the exact place where your true, beautiful power completely resides. It is the only place where genuine, lasting change can ever beautifully occur. When the heavy, dark shadows of yesterday try to violently pull you backward, everyone, they are completely relying on your deep, unconscious habit of following them into the dark. But you do not have to follow those shadows anymore, friends. You can simply stand absolutely still, plant your feet firmly on the solid, welcoming earth, and gently declare that you are staying right here, in the bright, warming light of today. It is incredibly exhausting, everyone, to constantly carry the heavy, wet blanket of old resentments, and past sorrows, wherever you go. You might have worn this heavy blanket for so long, friends, that you have entirely forgotten what it actually feels like, to walk freely, to breathe deeply, and to simply exist without that constant, suffocating weight. Taking off that heavy, wet blanket, everyone, is a profound act of supreme courage, and it is a beautiful, necessary step toward reclaiming your deep, inherent right to experience pure, uncomplicated joy. There is a remarkable, deeply touching story from the ancient texts, everyone, that beautifully illustrates this profound concept of letting go, and finding absolute safety in the quiet center of the mind. It is the fascinating story of an acrobat named Augustina, friends. Augustina was incredibly talented, entirely capable of performing breathtaking, magnificent feats of balance, high above the cheering, noisy crowds. But one particular day, everyone, after climbing to the very top of a massive, incredibly tall bamboo pole, a sudden, terrifying wave of absolute panic completely overwhelmed his fragile heart. He looked down at the vast, dizzying distance below him, friends, and suddenly, his mind was entirely flooded with dark, terrifying memories of other acrobats who had tragically fallen, and vivid, horrifying imaginations of what would happen if he made a single, tiny mistake. The heavy, paralyzing fear of the past, and the terrifying, anxious projection of the future, completely gripped him, everyone. He was absolutely frozen at the top of that swaying bamboo pole, entirely unable to move forward, unable to climb down, and completely trapped in a state of absolute, agonizing terror. The awakened one, walking peacefully through the bustling city, saw this poor, deeply terrified man, clinging desperately for his very life. The awakened one did not shout complicated, confusing instructions, friends, and did not offer a long, complex philosophical lecture about the nature of fear. Instead, looking up with eyes overflowing with boundless, warm compassion, the awakened one spoke a few, profoundly simple, and incredibly powerful words. The awakened one softly said, "Let go of the past, let go of the future, let go of the present, and safely cross over to the farther shore of absolute peace." To let go of the past, everyone, meant that Augustina had to completely stop clinging to the heavy, terrifying memories of those who had fallen before him. To let go of the future, friends, meant he had to entirely stop imagining his own, terrible destruction on the hard ground below. And to let go of the present, everyone, meant he had to stop identifying with his current, overwhelming state of paralyzing, suffocating fear. By completely releasing all of these heavy, mental burdens, friends, his mind instantly found a profound, perfectly still, and entirely unshakable center. In that magnificent, beautiful moment of profound release, everyone, Augustina's deep, agonizing terror completely, miraculously vanished. He regained his natural, beautiful balance, not by fighting the harsh wind, or desperately fighting his own fear, but by completely, peacefully resting in the pure, quiet awareness of the exact moment. He calmly, gracefully climbed down from the tall bamboo pole, friends, completely safe, entirely whole, and profoundly, beautifully awakened to the deep truth of inner freedom. So many people today, friends, are exactly like that terrified acrobat, completely frozen at the top of their own, metaphorical bamboo pole. You might be clinging desperately, everyone, to a very precarious, difficult situation, entirely paralyzed by the painful memory of a past betrayal, and deeply, terribly afraid of making another painful mistake in the unknown future. The heavy, gripping fear makes your muscles tight, friends, it makes your breathing shallow, and it makes the beautiful, vibrant world look incredibly dangerous, and deeply threatening. But you can gently apply the profound, beautiful wisdom of the awakened one, everyone, to your very own, deeply personal situation. When the old, terrifying memories of trauma suddenly arise, friends, threatening to completely overwhelm your delicate balance, you can softly, quietly remind yourself, to simply let go. You do not have to fight the heavy memory, everyone, you simply have to gently, carefully open your tightly clenched hands, and beautifully allow the difficult thought to naturally, peacefully fall away, exactly like a dry, brown leaf falling gently from a large, quiet tree. It is entirely natural, friends, to feel a strong, deep resistance to this gentle idea of letting go. The traumatized mind, everyone, falsely believes that by constantly, obsessively replaying the painful events of the past, it is somehow perfectly protecting you from future harm. It tells you, friends, that if you drop your heavy, defensive guard for even a single, beautiful second, you will be instantly, terribly hurt all over again. But this constant, exhausting vigilance, everyone, is absolutely not true safety, it is simply a deeply painful, incredibly exhausting form of internal, mental imprisonment. True, lasting safety, friends, is never completely found by building thicker, higher walls around your fragile heart. True safety, everyone, is beautifully discovered, when you realize that your core, spiritual essence, is exactly like the vast, perfectly clear, and completely undisturbed sky. A massive, terrifying storm can completely rage through the sky, friends, with booming, deafening thunder, and sharp, terrifying lightning, but the storm can never, ever truly damage the sky itself. When the storm finally, naturally passes, everyone, the sky remains entirely perfectly intact, flawlessly beautiful, and profoundly, completely at peace. You are that vast, indestructible sky, friends. The deep traumas, the harsh, cruel words, and the completely unfair things that happened to you, were simply heavy, terrifying storms passing through your beautiful life. They caused immense, undeniable pain, everyone, they created loud, terrifying noise, and they made things completely, utterly dark for a very long time. But they did not, and they absolutely cannot, ever permanently destroy the pure, radiant, and incredibly beautiful light of your true, deep awareness. To gently, beautifully reconnect with this vast, sky-like nature, everyone, it is incredibly helpful to seek out the pure, harmonious elements of the natural world, to deeply, wonderfully soothe your tired, weary senses. Imagine the pure, high-pitched, and absolutely crystal-clear tone of a beautiful singing bowl, friends, ringing gently in a completely silent, peaceful room. That clear, singular, and beautifully resonant sound, everyone, has the profound, incredible power to beautifully cut right through the thick, chaotic noise of an anxious, heavily burdened mind. When you listen closely to such a pure, bright tone, friends, you are completely, naturally drawn into the exact, precise present moment. The heavy, complicated story of your past trauma, everyone, completely temporarily stops playing in your head, completely replaced by the simple, beautiful, and profoundly peaceful reality of the pure sound. In those brief, beautiful moments of complete, auditory stillness, friends, you are experiencing the absolute, undeniable taste of true, deep, and entirely lasting spiritual liberation. Healing, you see, is essentially a profound, completely beautiful process of continuous, gentle returning. It is the quiet, continuous returning of the wandering mind, everyone, back to the safe, beautiful anchor of the present breath. Whenever you notice that you have accidentally, completely drifted back into the dark, heavy shadows of an old, painful regret, friends, do not scold yourself, and absolutely do not become angry with your own, beautifully complex mind. Simply pause, everyone, smile gently at your own, completely human tendency to wander, and softly, beautifully guide your attention back to the simple, reassuring feeling of the cool air entering your nose. This gentle, continuous practice of mindful returning, friends, slowly, beautifully rebuilds the deep, completely damaged pathways of trust, entirely within your own, delicate nervous system. You are patiently, lovingly teaching your own physical body, everyone, that it does not need to remain completely trapped in a state of high, terrifying alert anymore. You are proving to yourself, friends, breath by mindful breath, that you are finally, completely, and entirely safely home. And as this beautiful, profound sense of deep safety continues to grow, everyone, you will naturally, wonderfully begin to notice, that the harsh, thick layer of internal judgment, slowly, beautifully begins to melt completely away. You will stop blaming yourself, friends, for the heavy, complicated things you had absolutely no control over. You will look at your own, deeply personal history, everyone, not as a deeply shameful, broken record of failure, but as a completely magnificent, beautifully complex, and entirely courageous testament to your own, undeniable survival. It is incredibly important, friends, to completely surround yourself with gentle, uplifting, and profoundly positive influences, as you continue to navigate this beautiful, delicate path of deep restoration. Be very mindful, everyone, of the media you consume, the deep, complex conversations you engage in, and the specific environments you completely choose to place yourself in. The deeply healing mind, friends, is exactly like a very young, newly sprouted, and incredibly delicate green plant, completely requiring warm sunlight, gentle water, and absolute, perfect protection from harsh, toxic elements. If you constantly, unknowingly expose your fragile, healing heart to aggressive, negative, or deeply cynical environments, everyone, you are unknowingly pouring cold, toxic poison on your very own, beautiful garden. Choose to gently, carefully turn away from the loud, chaotic noise of unnecessary conflict, friends. Seek out the quiet, beautifully supportive company of those who genuinely, deeply understand the profound, sacred value of peace, kindness, and absolute, unconditional mutual respect. Sometimes, friends, the most profound, deeply healing action you can possibly take, is simply setting a firm, entirely healthy boundary, with the people, or the difficult situations, that continuously, repeatedly reopen your old, painful wounds. Setting a gentle, clear boundary, everyone, is absolutely not an act of harsh, burning anger, and it is entirely not an act of cold, bitter revenge. It is simply a profound, absolutely necessary, and incredibly beautiful act of deep, genuine self-preservation, and profound, unconditional self-love. You have the absolute, undeniable right, friends, to deeply, carefully protect the beautiful, delicate peace that you are working so incredibly hard to cultivate within your own heart. When you respectfully, peacefully decline to participate in a toxic, harmful dynamic, everyone, you are completely, bravely choosing your own, beautiful well-being, entirely over the completely familiar, but deeply painful patterns of the past. You are gently, firmly closing the heavy door on unnecessary suffering, friends, and beautifully, wonderfully opening the window, to completely let the fresh, healing breeze of pure joy perfectly enter. This beautiful, gentle breeze of joy, everyone, is entirely naturally drawn to a heart that is completely, wonderfully open, and absolutely undefended. When you finally, completely let go of the heavy, exhausting need to aggressively protect yourself from every single, potential hurt, friends, a vast, deeply beautiful, and entirely unexpected spaciousness completely opens up within you. You begin to experience the beautiful, vibrant world, everyone, not as a dark, terrifying battlefield, but as a vast, magnificent, and truly awe-inspiring playground of profound, continuous discovery. You will find yourself gently, completely captivated by the simple, elegant beauty of a single, delicate lotus flower, friends, completely marveling at how it perfectly, beautifully rises from the dark, heavy mud, entirely pure, perfectly unblemished, and completely radiant. You will see your own, beautiful soul perfectly reflected in that resilient, magnificent flower, everyone, profoundly understanding that you, too, have completely, beautifully risen from the dark, heavy mud of your own suffering, completely transformed into a being of pure, undeniable light. The scars that you carry, friends, the deep, invisible marks of the heavy battles you have bravely fought, are completely not ugly, and they are absolutely nothing to be deeply, painfully ashamed of. In a profoundly beautiful, entirely spiritual sense, everyone, those scars are completely luminous, shining with the deep, magnificent wisdom of a person who has truly, bravely faced the dark, and victoriously, completely returned to the bright, beautiful light. They are exactly like the elegant, beautiful golden seams in a carefully repaired, precious bowl, friends, making you entirely, vastly more beautiful, and incredibly more valuable, because of the profound, deep breaking you have completely, wonderfully survived. As you gently, peacefully walk through the completely ordinary moments of your beautiful day, everyone, try to completely maintain this deep, profound perspective of absolute, radiant worthiness. When you pour a simple cup of warm, clear tea, friends, do it slowly, completely mindfully, entirely treating the simple action as a profound, beautiful, and deeply sacred ceremony of pure self-care. When you wash your face with cool, refreshing water, everyone, deeply, truly feel the water completely washing away not just the physical dust, but also the invisible, lingering fatigue of old, entirely unnecessary worries. These small, deeply beautiful, and completely mindful actions, friends, are absolutely not trivial, and they are entirely not meaningless. They are the profound, powerful, and incredibly beautiful building blocks of a completely new, entirely radiant, and deeply peaceful life. They are the gentle, quiet, and completely undeniable proof, everyone, that you are actively, beautifully choosing to completely nourish your own, precious spirit, right here, and exactly right now, completely independent of whatever harsh, difficult things may have entirely happened to you in the distant past. There is a vast, beautiful, and completely supportive universe, friends, entirely waiting to beautifully catch you, exactly the moment you finally, bravely decide to completely let go of the heavy, painful past. You are absolutely not alone in this profound, beautiful, and completely magnificent journey of deep, spiritual mending. The warm, bright sun completely shines upon you, everyone, the cool, gentle wind beautifully breathes completely for you, and the solid, completely unshakable earth safely, entirely holds your every single, beautiful step. Allow yourself, friends, to deeply, profoundly trust this vast, beautiful, and completely loving support. You do not have to aggressively, exhaustingly carry the heavy, crushing weight of your entire history all by yourself, everyone, for even one more single, painful second. You can completely, peacefully lay the heavy burden down, friends, right here, perfectly at the side of this beautiful, winding road, and quietly, gracefully walk forward with a completely light, absolutely unburdened, and entirely joyful heart. The past is a completely closed, heavily sealed book, everyone, and no matter how many times you desperately, painfully reread the completely dark, difficult chapters, the harsh, unforgiving words will absolutely never, ever change. But the beautiful, completely blank pages of your vast, completely open future, friends, are entirely, perfectly waiting for you to beautifully, intentionally write a completely new, entirely magnificent story. You have the beautiful, powerful pen completely in your own, capable hand, everyone, and the beautiful ink is entirely made of your own, deep, profound, and utterly magnificent present awareness. Write a story of deep, profound peace, friends. Write a beautiful, inspiring story of absolute, undeniable resilience, where the main character, which is beautifully, perfectly you, completely, triumphantly overcomes the darkest, heaviest shadows, and joyfully, entirely emerges into the brilliant, warming, and completely absolute light of a brand new, magnificent dawn. Every single, beautiful choice you mindfully make today, everyone, every deep, gentle breath you consciously take, is a beautiful, shining word entirely written on that completely new, deeply magnificent page. And as you completely, beautifully fill these new pages with profound, gentle kindness, friends, you will naturally, wonderfully discover that the deep, heavy pain of the past, completely loses its harsh, bitter sting. It simply becomes a quiet, faded, and entirely distant background, everyone, a completely necessary contrast that only serves to make the bright, beautiful, and entirely vibrant colors of your present joy, completely, breathtakingly more vivid, and utterly, profoundly more beautiful. You are completely, wonderfully capable of this profound, beautiful, and entirely majestic transformation, friends. The deep, ancient seeds of absolute, perfect enlightenment, and profound, unshakable peace, are entirely, beautifully resting within the very core of your own, magnificent being, simply waiting for the gentle, warming touch of your own, loving awareness to completely, perfectly awaken them. Keep gently, continuously shining that beautiful, compassionate light inward, everyone, and simply, peacefully watch as your entire, beautiful life miraculously, profoundly, and completely joyfully blossoms, perfectly, entirely beyond your wildest, most beautiful dreams. Dreams, friends, are entirely possible to weave into the very fabric of your waking reality, when you allow the heart to remain completely, wonderfully open. It is a completely natural, deeply human experience, everyone, to wonder if the deep, subtle echoes of the past will ever completely, entirely vanish from your quiet mind. You might have done an incredible amount of profound, beautiful healing work, friends, and you might feel vastly, incredibly lighter than you did many years ago. Yet, on a quiet, rainy afternoon, or during a silent, lonely evening, a very faint, completely subtle whisper of the old sorrow, might softly, unexpectedly brush against your deeply sensitive heart. When this subtle whisper occurs, everyone, do not panic, and absolutely do not believe that your profound, beautiful healing has entirely failed. There is a profoundly beautiful, deeply encouraging teaching from the ancient times, friends, involving a wise elder named Kamaka. Kamaka, everyone, had practiced incredibly diligently, and he had completely, entirely removed the heavy, thick chains of his past suffering. He no longer felt the burning, chaotic anger, and he absolutely no longer harbored deep, heavy resentments toward anyone in the vast world. However, he honestly confessed to his gentle friends, that a very faint, subtle feeling of sorrow, a tiny, lingering echo of his old, painful identity, still occasionally, quietly visited his vast mind. He was completely honest, everyone, admitting that even though the heavy chains were completely gone, this tiny, delicate shadow still softly remained. He explained this completely delicate, deeply relatable situation, friends, using a completely brilliant, and incredibly beautiful metaphor. He said, imagine a dirty, heavily stained cloth, that is taken to the clear, flowing river by a skilled washerman. The washerman washes the cloth thoroughly with soap, completely, perfectly removing all the heavy dirt, and all the dark, deeply ingrained stains. But even after the beautiful cloth is completely, flawlessly clean, friends, a very faint, lingering smell of the strong soap, and the old, deep water, entirely remains completely attached to the delicate fabric. How does the wise washerman completely remove this final, subtle scent, everyone? He does not scrub the clean cloth aggressively, friends, because that would entirely ruin the delicate threads. He simply lays the perfectly clean cloth out in the bright, warm sunlight, and gently allows the fresh, continuous breeze to completely, naturally air it out. Over time, everyone, the lingering scent completely, peacefully fades entirely on its own, leaving the beautiful cloth perfectly pure, and wonderfully fresh. Your deep, beautiful mind, everyone, is exactly like that freshly washed, perfectly clean cloth. You have bravely, completely scrubbed away the heavy, dark stains of your deep trauma, friends, through your incredible patience, your deep tears, and your profound, unwavering courage. The completely intense, chaotic pain is absolutely gone, everyone. But the faint, subtle scent of the memory, the quiet, lingering echo of the old, difficult experience, might still delicately cling to your fragile nervous system. You do not need to harshly scrub your beautiful mind, friends, to forcefully remove this tiny, completely harmless scent. You simply need to patiently, gently lay your beautiful heart out in the bright, warming sunlight of the present moment. When you simply breathe, friends, completely noticing the cool, gentle air entering your nose, you are inviting that fresh, beautiful breeze to completely, naturally air out your tired mind. Every single, completely mindful breath you take, everyone, is exactly like a gentle, warm wind, slowly, peacefully carrying away the very last, lingering traces of the old, heavy sorrow. It requires absolutely no forceful effort, friends, it only requires a deep, profound trust in the completely natural, utterly beautiful process of time, and continuous, gentle awareness. You can simply relax, everyone, completely knowing that the subtle scent will absolutely, undeniably fade, when it is perfectly, naturally ready to leave. This beautiful, gentle patience, friends, is the absolute highest form of profound, unconditional love you can possibly offer to your own, entirely magnificent soul. It is the deep, profound understanding, everyone, that you are a complex, beautifully intricate human being, not a simple, completely mechanical device that can be instantly, perfectly reprogrammed. Your beautiful heart, friends, has its own, entirely perfect rhythm, its own deep, sacred seasons of blooming, and its own, profoundly wise timeline for complete, absolute restoration. Honor that completely sacred timeline, everyone, completely refusing to rush your own, beautiful unfolding. As you continuously, gently practice this profound patience, friends, you will naturally, wonderfully begin to completely notice, that the space around the lingering memories, becomes vastly, incredibly larger, and deeply, wonderfully more peaceful. In the past, everyone, when a difficult memory entirely surfaced, it completely filled your entire mind, leaving absolutely no room to breathe, and absolutely no room to clearly see the beautiful world. But now, friends, because you have beautifully, carefully cultivated this vast, completely open awareness, the memory is simply a tiny, completely insignificant cloud, floating peacefully in a massive, completely boundless, and brilliantly blue sky. You can look up at that tiny, passing cloud, everyone, and simply, gently acknowledge its quiet presence, completely without losing sight of the vast, beautiful, and absolutely magnificent sky that entirely surrounds it. You deeply, profoundly realize, friends, that you are absolutely the entire, limitless sky, and you are entirely not the small, fleeting cloud. This profound, beautiful realization, everyone, brings an absolute, unshakable sense of deep, permanent relief, completely untying the very last, entirely hidden knots of inner, completely invisible tension. The profound, beautiful world around you, friends, completely responds to this deep, expansive, and entirely peaceful energy. When you walk through a busy, crowded street, everyone, you no longer feel the harsh, heavy need to constantly, aggressively defend your completely fragile boundaries. You simply flow, friends, exactly like a smooth, deep, and completely peaceful river, gracefully, beautifully moving past the hard, jagged rocks, entirely without losing your own, deep, profound center of absolute calm. People will completely, instinctively feel your gentle, unshakable peace, everyone, and they will naturally, completely soften their own, harsh edges, simply by being in your entirely beautiful, deeply grounded presence. This is how deep, personal healing, friends, completely, beautifully transforms into a massive, entirely profound gift for the entire, vast world. You become a completely silent, absolutely radiant beacon of entirely genuine hope, everyone, completely proving through your own, beautifully peaceful existence, that deep, absolute and entirely lasting liberation from past trauma, is absolutely, completely possible for every single, human heart. You do not need to constantly, loudly announce your profound healing, friends, because your very own, gentle smile, your entirely patient listening, and your deep, calm eyes, entirely speak a profound, universal language of pure, absolute compassion. There is a deep, profoundly beautiful joy, everyone, completely waiting for you in the entirely ordinary, beautifully simple actions of your very own daily life. When you slowly, mindfully sweep the floor of your quiet home, friends, completely feel the smooth, wooden handle of the broom in your completely open hands. Listen deeply, everyone, to the rhythmic, soothing sound of the bristles moving gently across the floor. In that exact, perfectly ordinary moment, friends, you are completely, absolutely safe, entirely whole, and profoundly, perfectly at peace. You are completely, beautifully washing away the completely invisible dust of the past, everyone, simply by remaining entirely, fully present with the completely simple task at hand. When you sit down to eat a warm, simple meal, friends, look closely, completely deeply at the beautiful, nourishing food before you. Recognize the vast, completely miraculous web of brilliant sunlight, cool rain, rich earth, and deep, gentle human labor, that completely, perfectly brought that simple nourishment directly to your beautiful table. Eating with this profound, completely mindful gratitude, everyone, completely transforms a simple, physical necessity into a deeply beautiful, entirely sacred ceremony of pure, absolute joy. You are completely, physically ingesting the beautiful, loving energy of the entire, vast universe, friends, allowing it to completely, perfectly heal, and beautifully nourish every single, entirely resilient cell of your magnificent, physical body. This completely mindful, entirely gentle way of simply existing, everyone, completely, beautifully seals the deep, energetic leaks that were previously, completely caused by the heavy, exhausting drain of past trauma. You completely, miraculously gather all of your beautiful, entirely precious life force, friends, completely back into the safe, beautiful container of the absolute present moment. And with all of this abundant, entirely fresh, and deeply beautiful energy, everyone, you can finally, completely begin to beautifully build the quiet, deeply meaningful life, that your beautiful, completely brave soul has always, perfectly desired. You can entirely, beautifully explore new, completely fascinating interests, friends, absolutely without the heavy, dark shadow of entirely completely unnecessary fear. You can plant a beautiful, entirely vibrant garden, everyone, gently completely coaxing tiny, fragile seeds to completely, beautifully burst into brilliant, colorful life. You can learn to paint, friends, completely allowing the bright, vivid colors to entirely, beautifully express the deep, profound, and utterly entirely magnificent emotions, that completely reside within your deeply healed, and incredibly spacious heart. You can write entirely beautiful, completely inspiring words, everyone, perfectly sharing your deep, hard-won wisdom with a vast, completely entirely beautiful world, that deeply, profoundly thirsts for genuine, authentic light. Every single, beautiful creative act you pursue, friends, is a magnificent, entirely completely victorious celebration over the dark, heavy forces of past, completely unnecessary suffering. Trauma completely entirely attempts to silently, painfully destroy the beautiful, human capacity to completely, joyfully create. But when you completely, bravely reclaim your entire, beautiful creativity, everyone, you are entirely, profoundly proving that the deep, beautiful spark of absolute, divine life within you, can absolutely never, ever be completely extinguished. It is a completely beautiful, utterly completely profound victory, friends, and you entirely, absolutely deserve to completely, joyfully celebrate it, with every single, entirely mindful breath you take. As you completely, beautifully continue to walk this long, peaceful, and entirely completely radiant path, everyone, always, completely remember to offer yourself the very same, profound, deep, and absolutely unconditional forgiveness, entirely whenever you simply, naturally stumble. You are a completely, wonderfully complex, entirely beautiful human being, friends, completely navigating a vast, completely entirely unpredictable, and sometimes very confusing world. You will absolutely, entirely completely make new mistakes, everyone, and you will absolutely, completely face new, completely entirely unexpected challenges. But these entirely new challenges, friends, are absolutely not punishments from the dark, completely entirely distant past. They are simply the completely natural, entirely beautiful conditions of completely being wonderfully, entirely vibrantly alive. And completely unlike the heavy, dark, completely entirely terrifying days of your deeply wounded past, everyone, you now entirely completely possess the deep, beautiful, and absolutely completely profound tools to completely, gracefully handle absolutely anything that entirely completely comes your way. You have the completely beautiful, entirely deep anchor of your own, gentle breath, friends. You have the completely profound, entirely vast space of your own, perfectly clear, and completely observing awareness, everyone. And completely most importantly, friends, you entirely completely have the deep, profound, and absolutely unshakable knowledge, that your completely beautiful, entirely magnificent core essence, is completely, absolutely, and entirely perfectly indestructible. This deep, entirely completely profound knowledge, everyone, is the absolute, entirely ultimate fruit of your completely long, brave, and entirely deeply courageous healing journey. It is the completely beautiful, entirely magnificent jewel that you have completely, perfectly extracted from the deep, entirely dark mud of your very own, completely personal suffering. Hold this beautiful, completely radiant jewel entirely close to your completely open, beautifully beating heart, friends. Let its completely warm, entirely brilliant light completely guide your every single, entirely beautiful step forward, everyone. There is an entirely beautiful, completely magnificent, and deeply profoundly peaceful road entirely perfectly stretching out completely before you, friends. It is entirely perfectly completely paved with the bright, beautiful, entirely warm stones of deep, absolute self-compassion, and completely lined with the tall, incredibly beautiful, completely resilient trees of profound, entirely quiet wisdom. Walk this beautiful, entirely magnificent road, everyone, with entirely absolutely slow, completely deeply deliberate, and entirely beautifully joyful steps. Breathe the completely cool, entirely fresh air of absolute, profound, entirely pure freedom, friends. Look completely up at the vast, completely beautiful, entirely clear sky, everyone, and simply, completely beautifully know, with absolute, deep, and entirely profound certainty, that you are completely, entirely safely, completely, and beautifully perfectly home.